Morning, everybody. It's the Empowered Target. So I woke up, and I've been keeping a video diary of this, and I have new burns. So as you can see, there's one new burn right there. See how close to the vein it is? And this little cut, I don't know how I got it, but my whole left hand has been swollen and painful. You can see how my veins are very dominant all of a sudden. That's where I had skin cancer before that they gave me. There's my scar. And here's the other burn on this hand right there. So they are injecting, whatever you want to call it, arthritis. And like I said, they've been going after my vascular system because all of the burns are right on veins. And I do have some very dominant veins. So, it's amazing to me that they have this unbelievable technology that can do so much good for human beings, and they're using it to destroy human beings. That's pure evil right there. So, November 2nd, 2023 is a date I will never forget. I was sitting in my house watching TV, and I suddenly felt something hit the back of my head, and it hurt. And whatever it was, traveled from the base of my neck to the top of my skull. Went completely numb after I felt something hit it. And it went numb for just a few seconds, and then it went back to normal. And it hurt, and it kind of threw me off balance. And the reason I know the date is because I recorded immediately after that happened. I pulled out my phone and started recording it because there was a drone or a plane flying over at the same exact time. So I've been trying to keep video records of what's been going on. So a lot of people that are being used as human receivers, so to speak, they talk about having surgery to remove something. Whatever they inserted, that's when all the trouble started for me. This was done remotely. I am living proof that they can just insert remotely whatever the technology is, because that's when the radiation started. That's when the tinnitus started, November 2nd, 2023. And I'll never forget it because that's when all my physical symptoms started. There's no plausible deniability there. To go from being vibrantly healthy to all of a sudden losing your hair. I lost 10 pounds. I'm like, where did the weight go? How'd that happen? Just the drastic change in my body. I'm 63 years old. I know my body very well because I've always worked out and I've always been athletic and very physically active. I know my body. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, the drastic change in pattern of behavior is one of the biggest red flags. Well, that's what happened. It's like all of a sudden, all these physical symptoms. And they're trying to use plausible deniability because I'm 63. Well, you could have arthritis. No. I have burns in all the areas, and I have videotaped all these burns, and that's when the pain starts. And these are unexplained burns, and they're clearly burns. This is a burn. That is a burn mark. And I just woke up a little while ago, and this happens daily all over my body. And if you are truly a targeted individual, you will understand what I'm saying because it's all this unexplained stuff. You can't explain it. And again, too many coincidences equal a pattern of behavior. So, November 2nd, 2023. And this is why they get away with it, because this program is so covert. The covert nature of it makes it so difficult to prove, which is why I try to, record everything and keep the best record of everything that's happened to me as I can. and share it with as many people as I can, even though they are not allowing my YouTube channel to be viewed by anybody but obviously perpetrators. If you're not a perpetrator, I do apologize, but based on what's happening, there are a lot of perpetrators out there posing as YouTube contributors and targeted individuals, and you just have to weed through and use common sense, because there's just nobody that's real as far as I can see. It's very difficult to discern. But I will never forget that date, because that is when all the trouble started. They remotely inserted something into my brain. And so is this something that can be removed? I don't know, because I don't know what it was. But I'll never forget that date, because I remember the pain. I remember the numbness. I remember that immediately after that is when I started being affected by radio frequency and microwave radiation. And, now it's to the point where, and it's only gotten worse. When I was working, people would actually stick their phones in my face. I never understood it. They weren't taking pictures. They were just holding their phones in my face. I'm like, get your phone out of my face. It was such a blatant display of disrespect. But I knew there was a reason for it. I just didn't know what they were doing. They were hacking into my brain interface. That's what they were doing. Brian, too, and I've mentioned him before, and I did post a video that he had made. He talks about the brain-to-brain interface, the brain-to-computer interface, things like that. He's very smart, and he knows a lot about this. He's a whistleblower. And he's getting hit pretty hard himself, where they're trying to give him heart attacks, and other targeted individuals have suffered the same fate. So, of course, you're being punished if you tell the truth and if you expose anything. And I know that my targeting has gotten worse since I've had my YouTube channel, because I am posting a lot of evidence. I mean, you cannot explain away, and there's no other way to look at the videos that I have posted. I am posting facts. This is what my cameras are picking up. Period. They're very afraid of exposure, but Brian, too, talks about how their goal is to measure your response to trauma. And I've made many posts about not responding to a lot of the abuse and the stalking and the attacks and things like that. I've just decided that even though I know it's not normal, what's happening to me, I've decided to just look at everything like that's normal. It's normal for someone to sit in front of my house and sit on their phone and point their phone at my house. And I have to adapt that attitude, because my life depends upon it. They are trying to measure. That's how they control you, through whatever they inserted in my brain, and then all of the surrounding stress and my reaction to it and my response to it. So I just try to ignore it. It's very hard, because there's technology being used to destroy my property, and it's also remote technology. Everything that's being done to me is so covert. It's covert to other people, but not to me. But again, that's why it's so difficult to get help and to prove what's happening to you, because all the shots that are being taken are being done remotely. But you can hear them and you can see what they've done to my home. And I have recorded the sound of things hitting my house. So any rational, sane person that's not involved, and if there is somebody that does decide they want to be a decent human being and investigate all this criminal behavior, their reaction should be, I understand exactly why you think and believe what you think and believe. based on what you're showing me. That's the only acceptable response from somebody who is impartial, someone who is not involved in this, someone who's not been, paid off or manipulated and controlled by this technology. This needs to end. And the only way it's going to end is if there are enough people that don't go along with it. And fear has prevented bravery. Everybody's too afraid to do anything. And it's time for courage, folks, because 10 million people were killed during World War II because of people like you, who closed their eyes, turned their heads, ignored, pretended that it wasn't happening out of fear. I understand the fear. You got to get over it. We all have fear. You've got to face it, and you've got to fight, and you've got to let people know what's happening, and you need to stop agreeing with it. Because going along with it and helping is called aiding and abetting. My neighbors are aiding and abetting. They are doing the government's dirty work for them. I see their equipment. I know what they're doing to me. And these are people that I've lived around for, some of them, 20 years. As long as you go along with this, it will continue. So for all the TIs out there that are being tortured and disrespected and dehumanized, I say to you, stay strong, stay safe, protect yourself, and have your own back. You are the only one that will have your back, at least right now. Trust yourselves, trust your instincts, and do everything you can to protect yourselves.